Evening. This is a regular scheduled meeting of the Kettering City Council. Today's date is January 23rd, 2024. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your head. Dear Lord, we pray for unity. We have come together as a group united in passion and purpose. Help us maintain unity as we discuss certain matters and implement projects. We pray for open hearts and minds that will promote and accept better ideas. We seek your honor in everything we do and say, and we ask for your blessings for our community and for all who need our prayers and assistance. Amen. Next, I would like to recognize our Miami Valley Communications Council TV operator, Mike Ciproni. Mike, thank you for your assistance. I would call on Mr. Sullivan at this point for a motion to approve the minutes from the January 9th, 2024 council meeting and workshop.
I motion to approve the minutes.
There needs to be a second, thanks. Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. And are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Yes. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Lehner?
Yes. We have no proclamations or special presentations this evening. We also have no public hearings. At this point, if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak to any of the legislative issues that are before us today, this is your opportunity to do that. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Speakers must state their name and address. Comments should be addressed to council. If you have comments that are not about the legislation on tonight's agenda, there will be an opportunity for those to be heard later in the meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to address council tonight on the legislation? Okay, seeing none, we will now move on to ordinances in second reading. There are no ordinances in second reading tonight. Trust me, we do have an agenda here. A lot of resolutions, which we're going to start right now. I'm going to call on Mrs. Fisher to introduce the first one.
Your Honor, I do have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for insurance and other benefits and related administrative services for the employees of the City of Kettering, Kettering Municipal Court, and the Office of the Clerk of the Kettering Municipal Court. It is requested by the Human Resources Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, I'll call on Mr. Greason to address this issue further.
Thank you, Your Honor. With approval of this, the city will enter into a contractual agreement with vendors for services and products related to our medical, pharmacy, dental, vision, and life insurance and administrative services that support those. So this is critical for our workforce. To ensure that the city avails itself of the best competitive rates in the marketplace, there will be a market review and a request for proposals, and that'll be sent out via the city's broker, McGowan Brabender, who assists us in managing this program.
Thank you, Mr. Greason. Does anyone have any questions? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mayor Lehner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for the replacement of the existing Parks Maintenance Storage Building at Beavertown Cemetery. The estimated cost and the amount budgeted is $119,000. This is requested by the Public Service Department, and I move for approval.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Greason.
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bergstresser for this one, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you. As mentioned, the 2024 capital improvement budget includes $119,000 to replace the existing maintenance storage building at Beavertown Cemetery, which the city maintains. The existing structure is unstable, can't be secured, so it will be torn down, replaced with a new building that will be maintenance-free and provide a better environment for our parks maintenance staff to maintain the cemetery grounds. Be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for replacement of existing carpet at various locations within the Kettering Municipal Court building. This is being requested by the Public Service Department. The estimated cost is $60,000, and that is also the amount budgeted. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. Fairly self-explanatory for this resolution. We've budgeted $25,000 for carpet replacement in the Clerk of Court's office and $35,000 for carpet replacement in the Municipal Court's office, all within the court's building. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for patching and repainting of the main pools at the Adventure Reef Water Park. Estimated cost is $40,000. That is the amount budgeted and is requested by the Public Service Department. I do move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. Part of the responsibilities of maintaining a water park is that we have to have a regular program for patching and repainting of the pool. So this year we budgeted $40,000 for repainting of the main areas within the water park that have faded over the years due to sun and chemical exposure. Be happy to answer questions.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mayor Laner?
Yes.
I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for the removal and replacement of trees, tree grates, and concrete within Civic Commons. The estimated cost and the amount budgeted is $100,000. This is requested by Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is specifically in regard to the trees that are in Civic Commons around the fountains near the entrance to the Frays Pavilion. When Civic Commons was originally constructed, these trees were quite small. Now they are quite large, and so they have reached their useful life. Therefore, this project will replace the trees and the associated grates, which have become damaged due to the tree roots and the surrounding concrete. Be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining, negotiated quotes to contract for the maintenance, removal, and replacement of trees on city-owned properties. The estimated cost is $150,000, the same as the budgeted cost. This is again requested by the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is our annual program that maintains our urban forest within Kettering on properties that we maintain as a city. So it's annual removal and replacement of trees that are dying or decayed or creating safety hazards on city-owned property and in medians. It also funds the replacement of said trees and also funds the citizen tree program through our Parks Department. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for the repair and replacement of the paver patio at Pullen Farm. The estimated cost is $120,000. That is also what is budgeted. It is requested by Parks and Rec, and I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This project will make repairs and replacements of the paver patios behind the main building, the main farmhouse building at the Pole and Farm venue. Previously, we replaced the pavers around the wedding gazebo in that area. This will be the next phase of pavers adjacent to that area that is covered by the awning patio behind the house. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for the repair of the Delco Park BMX track. The estimated cost and the amount budgeted is $125,000. This is requested by the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. I move for approval.
Second?
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This project will make needed repairs to the BMX track at Delco Park. The track has been seeing a lot of erosion and general heavy use over the years. So these are the first significant repairs we've made to the track in quite a number of years. It also includes renovations to the track that we are required to make in order for the BMX track to be sanctioned for competition events. Be happy to answer any questions.
I do have one question. Has the track always been sanctioned, and this is just a renewal, or is this the first time we're seeking sanction?
My understanding is that it's always been sanctioned.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
The next resolution also has to do with the BMX track, and it's a resolution, Your Honor, authorizing the city manager to contract with the Action Sports Design and Pro Start for the Delco Park BMX track renovation project. This is requested by Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts. The estimated cost is $40,000, and the amount budgeted is $40,000 as well. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser?
Thank you, Your Honor. This goes back to the previous question about the previous resolution with regard to sanctioning and the design of the BMX track to meet those sanctioning requirements. So we are proposing to contract with Action Sports Design as a preferred design firm for these types of activities. They are in this business, and they fulfill all the requirements that we would need to comply with in order to be sanctioned. If you happen to answer any questions.
Okay, anyone question? Okay, call the roll.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to amend resolution number 10927-23. Estimated cost is $208,000. Amount budget is $134,000 and is requested by Parks, Recreation, and Arts Department. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, I believe this one's also Steve. Mr. Bergstresser?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. As mentioned, this is an amendment to a resolution that was passed middle of last year in regard to landscaping at the Rosewood Arts Center. Since the original resolution was approved, we had gone out for quotes to install the landscaping. The quotes came in higher than expected, so therefore we are going back out to the market now with some additional budgets and slightly revised scope. We've also, we being the Parks Foundation, has also raised additional funds to cover overages in the price that is over and above what the city originally budgeted for the project in order to support the completion of the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mayor Laner?
Yes.
I have a resolution to amend Resolution 10645-21 to allow grant funds to be expended on landscaping at Rosewood Art Center. I'm old and my got the bifocal problem. This is requested by the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. I move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Call the roll. Nope. Steve.
Thank you, Your Honor. Similar to the previous resolution, this resolution will also amend a resolution that was passed in 2021 when the Kettering Park Foundation began raising private funds to reimburse the city for furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the Rosewood Arts Center renovation. The original language in that resolution did not allow for landscape or landscape services as an authorized use of the grant funds. So this new resolution tonight will authorize those landscaping and landscaping services as authorized uses for the grant funds from the Park Foundation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to authorize the acceptance of a donation from American Legion Post 598 through the Kettering Police Foundation for the purchase of 4 automated external defibrillators. The estimated cost of this is $6,000, requested by the Police Department, and I do move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Greason.
Your Honor, it's fairly self-explanatory from what Mr. Sudduth read into the record. We're certainly pleased to accept the donation and have the support.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a grant from Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation. It is requested by the fire department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Okay. Mr. Greason, I wasn't skipping you, I just
No,
messing it
it's
up.
fine. Your Honor, this grant that we're want to make application to Firehouse Subs for, if awarded, grant funds would be used to purchase approximately 50 sets of ballistic armor, so I think bulletproof vests, for all apparatus in our fire department. That includes 4 engines, 2 ladders, 5 medics, battalions 30 and 31, and the safety officer's vehicle. The award amount will not exceed $50,000, and there are no matching funds required by the city of Kettering. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Hearing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city to make a $5,000 contribution to the 2024 NCAA First Four Hoopla ticket program. The estimated cost and the budget amount is $5,000. This is requested by the city manager's office. I move for approval.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Mayor?
Yeah.
I've got the next one, so that'll be mine. So we need Matt.
Yes, Your Honor, periodically, the city seeks to help sponsor events that we think are important to support for the region, that benefit not only Kettering, but our entire region, and certainly the First Four Hoopla is one of those. So this request is for the bronze sponsorship level, and it requires legislation because it is a contribution on behalf of the city. The contribution is $5,000 to support this regional event, and it's something we've done for many years. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Okay, call the roll.
I'm sorry, just a clarification. These are tickets that are primarily given to veterans, active duty, and STEM students, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yep.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
On behalf of basketball fans everywhere, yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing a pay increase for City Manager Matthew H. Greason. This is being requested by City Council. The estimated cost is $6,100, and that amount is budgeted as well. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to call on myself here. This resolution will authorize a pay increase for the city manager, Matthew H. Greason. The pay increase became effective December 18th, 2023, at the rate of 2.25%, which is the same increase reached by non-unionized employees. This is our standard and customary raise increase, price. Call the roll? Or if anyone has any questions first. Now I'll call the roll.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids and to contract for the Danube Court Bridge Rehabilitation Project, city project number 03924A, ODOT project MOT. Court Bridge Rehabilitation Project, number 114100. That's a lot to say. Estimated cost $708,000 and is requested by the engineering department. I do move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. I promise my explanation will be easier to describe than the actual title of this project. Basically, we are rehabilitating the Danube Court Bridge over the Little Beaver Creek. This is a small bridge that is a little bit east of Woodman Drive, near the Woodman Lanes bowling alley, in that general vicinity of Kettering. Essentially, it's a superstructure replacement, so think beams and bridge deck will be replaced. We did receive a nice grant from the ODOT Municipal Bridge program of $672,000. The Kettering match on this project is approximately $36,000. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mayor Laner?
Yes.
I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for right-of-way acquisition services. The estimated cost and amount budgeted is $80,000. This is being requested by the engineering department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution will allow the city to begin the right-of-way acquisition process for a upcoming project on Marshall Road between East David Road and Wilmington Pike. The project primarily includes the resurfacing of the roadway and other related work. It also includes the construction of widened sidewalks, particularly between Lincoln Park Boulevard and Wilmington Pike, where some right-of-way is needed for construction. Funding for construction is not until 2026, but we need to start the right-of-way acquisition process now to keep the project on schedule. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Kettering, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024 for Police Department, Parks and Rec. The total estimated cost is $220,273. That's not yet budgeted, requested by the Finance Department, and I do move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason.
Yes, earlier tonight, you heard resolutions where you accepted donations. Now we need to appropriate those and some other funds. This includes the Police Department automated external defibrillators that we discussed earlier, the $6,000 donation from the American Legion Post. Additionally, a supplemental appropriation is requested to carry over the balance of $350 from a donation to from the Dorwood Optimist Club that was provided for the Kettering Police Department Rad Kids program. A supplemental appropriation of $6,000 is requested to accept a special projects grant from the Schiff Foundation to support the Photo Focus biennial exhibitions at the Rosewood Art Center. In the Capital Improvement Fund, the Rosewood Furniture, Fixtures, and Equipment Grant, it's a supplemental appropriation of $201,923 for the Rosewood Art Center improvements that we've discussed. This amount will assist with landscaping and to reduce the city-funded construction subsidy. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Can I make a comment?
You sure may.
You mentioned the RAD program.
Yes.
Chief, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or if you know. Earlier this week, I learned that where the origin of the RAD program came from, it was from a pretty brutal death of a young woman who was assaulted. And the family put together, I think, a foundation or an organization and created this program. And it's nationwide now. And I just think it's, I'm happy that we do it. And thank you for continuing that, Chief. And that's all.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to know. Let's see, where were we? Call roll. Call the roll.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes. Okay, that will do it for resolutions. We now have two ordinances in first reading. The first one,
Over to me. Ma'am, I do have an ordinance in first reading to levy special assessments for the construction and repair of curbs, sidewalks, drive approaches, and related appurtenances for the 2022 curb, sidewalk, and drive approach program. It is city project number 05-122, and this is a first reading.
okay.
Second?
Nope.
Nope, don't second.
No,
First reading, first reading.
So now we move on to
No move for approval. Well, Steve did describe it.
Yeah, he did. You have anything further to add?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a note or two. This is an ordinance in first reading tonight and related to the 2022 Curb, Sidewalk, and Drive Approach Repair Program, which is an assessment program wherein residents are assessed for the repairs to curbs, sidewalks, and drive approaches that are needed. Traditionally, we do this the year after the program is completed. We had some completion delays as far as the 2022 program is concerned, so therefore we are performing the assessment, or we will be sending out the assessment letters this spring upon approval of this ordinance at a subsequent meeting. Be happy to answer questions on this one.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, first reading. Okay. We'll now move on to certifications. Oh, that we missed one in there. All right, one more.
Your Honor, I have an ordinance to levy special assessments for the construction and repair of curbs, sidewalks, drive approaches, and related appurtenances for the 2023 Curb, Sidewalk, and Drive Approach Program, City Project number 05-123. This is requested by the Engineering Department.
First reading.
First reading.
And I will call on Steve for one last time.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Similar to the previous ordinance in first reading, this is another one in first reading, this time for the 2023 Curb, Sidewalk, and Drive Approach Repair Program that was completed just this past fall. The second reading will be at a subsequent meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you. That completes resolutions. We do not have any certifications or petitions tonight, I don't believe, do we, Ms. Kozinski? No, we do not. No, at this point, we move to the manager's report, community update. Mr. Grayson.
Yes, Your Honor. 2024 dog licenses are now on sale, so forms are available at Erie Pet Supply stores, some vet offices, and the Animal Resource Center. You can also purchase them by contacting the Kettering Police Department, and in particular Shelley Davis at the number on the screen. I think probably most important to remind everyone is that the deadline to purchase your dog license is January 31st. I don't love talking about tax season already, but here we are. The AARP Foundation Tax Aid Program offers free tax prep to anyone, including residents who are 50 years of age or older. And if you're interested in scheduling an appointment, residents can call the number on the screen. They'll be available Monday through Thursday starting February 5th through April 11th. All appointments will be at the Latham Center. We also want to shed some light on our Kettering Safe Senior Program. So if you are not familiar with the Kettering Safe Senior Program, it is to provide the City of Kettering residents a safe, secure, and voluntary program that identifies, locates, and or assists seniors and other residents in times of emergency. There is no cost to residents except to provide a key if the lockbox portion of the program is chosen by the participant, and the criteria includes residents with Alzheimer's or dementia, residents that are 65 years or older and live alone on a frequent basis and have a medical condition that's potentially incapacitating, things like that. It's a great program, and we certainly want to make you aware of it. You can call the Kettering Police Department for more information. Chief, would you want to add anything?
Thank you. Just that this program's been very useful, very successful for us, and we do encourage anybody who feels they need this or any family members they feel need this to please reach out and contact us. Thank you.
Can I just add, I would really appreciate you bringing that up, because I think we have a lot of programs like this in the city that we don't talk about that much, and we get used to them. And I heard few people up here saying, I didn't know we did that. So if you don't know it, some of the citizens who need it don't know it. So please help us spread the word. Thank you.
Indeed, the Kettering Safe Senior Program. So many people may not know that we have blood pressure clinics. We're interested in our residents' wellness. This is supported by our Senior Services Office, and the clinic dates are on the screen as well as the location. For individuals with accessibility needs and that need to improve accessibility at their home, we have a program that can assist with the installation of ramps, handrails, door widening, grab bars, and things like that. There's qualification information on the screen, and if you have any questions, you can contact our Planning and Development Department. Additionally, we have a stay-on pandemic utility assistance, and so the eligibility requirements for individuals who need assistance with keeping utilities on, and last week would have been a week where it was important to have that, and this week as well, for sure. We want to assist if individuals are eligible, and eligibility requirements on their screen, as well as application procedures. And again, if you have any questions, please call our planning office.
Could I make a comment about that program? Is that,
Yes.
do you mind? Last week, I was contacted by a resident who knew of a family that needed help. Their electric was off, they had no heat. And I said, okay, let me, get with the right person at the city and I'll have them call you. By the time I called the planning department, the city, they had already been in touch and were working on the application for the stay on. So I just want to say they're doing a fantastic job. So thank you.
I tell you what, the stories are a lot better than me reading what's on the screen. Because I'm sincere about that, because they demonstrate the impact that our programs have on people's lives every day. And so I appreciate you sharing them, because, again, they help illuminate the real impact of these things we're talking about.
Okay. Thank you. Are you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great, thank you. Let's see. At this point, and I think for once I'm going to have people actually volunteer to do this, it's your turn to come down and talk to us about an issue that might be on your mind. You're racing up there to the microphone.
I am.
for it.
I'm going to be first on the list.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is
Excuse
Jane
me just a
Bidwell,
second.
and I've been a
Excuse me
resident.
just a second. I need to remind everyone, since we do have a number of people speak, that you have a 5-minute limit,
Right.
and address council, name and address.
I've
which
timed it. I'm
You
good.
got it all. You're perfect. Okay, so With that, I'm going to let you
We ready?
take the floor. Yep.
Okay, my name is Jane Bidwell, and I've been a resident of Kettering for the past 18 years, and I am a homeowner in West Kettering. At this time, I'd like to ask anybody in the audience who wishes to support my concerns to please stand. I want you to know that there are others in this community who are concerned. I come before the City Council tonight to raise a concern that is shared by others in my community. About 2 weeks ago, I learned of a sober living home moving into the house next door to mine, managed by a company called KAV. I was told by the clinical director working for KAV overseeing this facility that their intention was to move 15 participants into this home. According to county records, this home is classified as 1,467 square feet. Upon purchase of this home, originally, title was listed in the name of the homeowner, Corey Messer. However, on August 16th, 23, the property title was switched over to the name of their business, Messer Construction LLC. The fact that they changed it to a business tells me they wanted the property to be considered a business, whether for personal protection or accounting concerns, whatever the reasons shall be. The home is owned by a business. My question is the lease in the name of a business? It is being managed by a business and probably is a for-profit entity. If a business owns a property and a lease is in the name of a business and a business manages the property, is this a business without proper zoning for business, is my question. If at full capacity 15 people live within this home, it raises many concerns. I'm concerned about the amount of square footage of less than 100 square feet per person in a home of this size for sleeping and community areas. The square footage is well below even state laws. Close quarters can lead to problems, arguments, fighting, property damage, etc. There are no egress windows in the basement of this home, but there are 3 bedrooms in this basement. Without proper egress windows and a secondary exit, this should render the basement uninhabitable for sleeping accommodations out of safety for the individuals living there. Additionally, there is a finished room above the garage. Again, without a proper egress size window, there should be no inhabitants living there as well. Therefore, this house has only 3 bedrooms that should be inhabitable for sleeping with proper egress. You cannot place 15 people within a 3-bedroom home. As this house is located on Far Hills, there is no street parking available to accommodate 15 cars or even 5 cars because of the length of the driveway. But at the time I spoke with the minister of the church, they had no prior knowledge of this facility moving in, and no prior approval was given for residents to park within their church parking lot had been given to them. One of our concerns is we don't know who is living within this home. There is a preschool in the grounds of the church, which is the Far Hills Presbyterian Church, and there are individuals staying with the home. Are they required to abide by ORC 2950.034? This law states that no person has been convicted or pled guilty to sexually oriented offenses or child victim-oriented offenses can live within 1,000 feet of a school, a child daycare facility, or preschool. My question is there anyone within Kettering who is regulating this requirement is being met or on an ongoing basis for change in residence? I've spoken at length with Tom Robillard, Director of Planning and Zoning for Kettering, the City Council person, Brian here, and the City Manager. As I have personally looked at Kettering zoning laws forwarded to me from Mr. Robillard, I am terribly concerned by their lack of clarity, giving no descriptions for licensed care facilities, what is deemed to be a business versus home housing, and the restrictions placed on these types of properties within Kettering. In essence, Kettering has not kept up with the changing times for these type of facilities, as well as even VRBO overnight rentals. Something needs to be done immediately. I would also like to know what would be an acceptable limit to a facility utilizing the resources for Kettering government employees. An example would be how many times can a police officer be called to a location before it is deemed a nuisance to the community and actions can be taken to remove this facility from Kettering. In addition, I'm concerned if the City of Kettering is receiving any funds from any organizations, including but not limited to State of Ohio, Medicaid, or any other organizations adding additional operating funding to the City of Kettering as incentives for entertaining these types of facilities within our community. I expect a full accounting of any monies received by Kettering to the people who are residing within Kettering, and I want this accountability on record so that there's transparency to the residents of the City of Kettering who is benefiting financially from an organization such as this. I have looked at zoning laws for other communities in the immediate surrounding areas, and I believe there is room for vast improvement within Kettering zoning laws. It is for that reason that I am on record today to bring forth my request to tighten zoning laws and to include members of the community for discussion and input into these laws. I would like to say I trust Kettering to do the right thing for their community, but as of yet, I am not feeling that is the case. I will take any questions from anybody here who wants to have a discussion with me.
Thank you very much for a
Thank
very
you.
well-prepared
5 minutes,
statement.
got it.
Wow.
That was good.
Does anyone have any questions? You might not, your 5 minutes didn't count questions you might have, so. I don't know if we have any, but did anyone have any questions for Mrs. Bidwell?
First of all, thank you for coming tonight, and we've talked a few times. I know you've had meetings with both Mr. Robillard, Mr. Greason, and we are working through the things you've brought to us in a fashion. So it's not being ignored, it's not being put on the back burner. It is on our plate, and we are looking into it within the scope of things we can do. Like Mr. Robillard talked to you, we can't go into the house, inspect the house, but we are doing drive-bys, and we're just trying to reach out to the owner of the home. So it is a work in progress. And as I pledged you 3 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago when we first talked, we'll stay in constant communication as this works through the process, and Matt and Tom agree the same. So
Okay.
there's a continuing conversation that we can't finish. As far as the questions about Medicare and funding and whether we're being incentivized to allow these to come, if you can get that into writing to Mr. Greason or myself, then we can respond to those even better, because my notes weren't as fast as concise as your remarks tonight.
Okay.
So let's follow up again on those specific requests so we can respond to those appropriately.
So how would that information get to the rest of the individuals who are here to be supportive, or other people in my community?
Yeah, well, there are a couple ways. One, and I don't want to talk out of turn with Matt, because he's the expert, of course, but we'd be glad if you can make those requests about the Medicare dollars incentives. We agreed before, a couple weeks ago, we would love to have a community meeting with the neighbors about this, as what we've learned through the process, than what you have heard and what you know that we don't know yet. Then we'd, no problem getting together at the library or even here and having a meeting with everybody, and we'll share what we know, you share what you know, we'll just have a conversation with us all in one room.
Okay,
Yeah, that's my commitment to you and your neighbors.
thank you.
Sign in on the, yeah, if you could sign the board that Ms. Shemp has right there, that'd be very great.
Okay.
Okay.
That way we have contact information.
Anything else before I leave?
You're in a hurry to get out of here?
Tell Dr. Lehner that Jane Bidwell from Children said hi. I haven't seen him in years.
I have another
Okay.
resident. Another
Yeah,
resident.
I hear it, Jack. Yeah, would you like to come forward?
My wife and I, my name is Ron Johnston. My wife's name is Margaret. We reside at 3090 Southdale Drive. We are here this evening to support and elevate the concerns that we would have for any single female living alone, next to 5 adult males who have been characterized as having drug, alcohol problems, and maybe notwithstanding mental health issues. My concern can only be elevated when I think upon my own personal experience on June the 2nd, 2015 in Kettering. Upon my a 10-unit apartment building was renovated by MVHO, a nonprofit organization, in order to house 10 drug, alcohol, mentally ill, and previously incarcerated adult males. On that day in June, less than 100 feet from my front door, in the early afternoon, two residents from that building took their differences onto the street. While engaging in their dispute, one of the residents of this MVHO property stabbed and killed his roommate. The city of Kettering had not had any murder prior to this incident in many years. So what were we told about this property prior to this incident? Bruce Duke informed us that our property values would not go down and that it would be well managed. Only after this incident did we find out that Moonlight Security, a private security agency, was on staff 24/7, cameras were to be operational, and curfews were to be enforced. On June the 2nd, 2015, Moonlight Security was not there, and the cameras were broke. We lost reliance upon our city for not only proper transparency, but also zoning protection. I went to the city council meetings regarding our concerns only to be rewarded with vintage rhetoric and denials. With a lack of transparency, I requested from the police department the number of service calls that were made from the inception of this multi-unit apartment building that was transformed into a homeless shelter. From January the 1st of 2015 through 6/24/2015, there were 122 service calls requesting the help of the Kettering Police Department. These calls range from murder to rape with noise disturbances in between. I have the police reports here if anyone would like to see them. The former mayor said, "That's not many." What? Keep in mind the context here. These were issues that could not be resolved internally by this building using a private security agency. Secondly, compare this number to any other residence within the city. Even more worrisome is a zoning change prior to this murder in 2015 for the location of this building. Not only is this building 100 feet from single-family housing, but 200 feet from Southdale Elementary School playground. Zoning should be a tool to enhance resident safety and stabilize property values. Finally, I find it quite odd to label an international city in Austria a sister city when clearly Dayton has become a more in common sister city. It's a financial relationship that they have with the city of Dayton called the consortium that binds these two cities together with an action plan seeking funding from the federal government to curb homelessness. I bring this up only to counter the city's claim that we have no control over the population being enacted. I would counter that your involvement is the enactment. Bringing this to the present, what is the city's strategy concerning this property on Far Hills? Can you give comfort to your citizens that high-risk housing will overlap into residential neighborhoods? Would any of you want drug abusers, alcohol abusers, mentally ill, or previously incarcerated adults living in your neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like one clarification, sir, from one of the comments you made. You said you wouldn't want a single woman to be living next door to 5. Is it 5 or 15 that we're talking about?
Well, I have spoken to her over the phone. I thought that she said that she thought that there would be at least 5 individuals, but from her conversation that she had, it could be up to 15.
And this conversation was with who? With me. With you?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the clinical director was in the driveway, and I spoke with her the first time I saw her, and she told me that they were scheduling 15 people to live in that home. Currently, I count between 5 and 6. 3 are on foot, and about 4 have cars that come and go. But the expectation is 15 will be in that home, is what I was told by the KAV Corporation's clinical director.
Okay. Certainly need to look into that. But anyone else have any questions? Okay. No, thank you very much for your testimony. Is there anyone else who wishes to address us tonight? Okay. Seeing no one, I would like to reiterate what has already been said. We are looking into this very carefully, and there are some things, like that 15 and 5, some of that stuff just doesn't ring right in a lot of ways. So we are looking into it. We will be happy to share with any of you the results that we find. We don't know the answers to everything right now. I appreciate your concern. I don't live very far from that site myself. At the same time, we all recognize that these people are in our community, and we need to make sure that they're safe neighbors. And that's difficult to always guarantee. But we are working on it, and please stay tuned. We will not keep our findings secret. All right? Anybody else have
Last
anything?
comment. If you missed the clipboard from Amy, please see Shauna at the end of the night, so we have your email address so we can contact you once these meetings get started and communicate easily with you. So if you don't get the clipboard, see Shauna or myself tonight before you leave.
Okay.
Thank you.
Matt, did you wish to add anything?
No, I don't have anything to add at this time.
Okay. All right. All right. With that, if nobody else wishes to address us, we'll now turn to council reports.
Well, Your Honor, I have a couple of things to mention. Back in December, I went to the STEM School Winter Exhibition Night. And on that evening, why am I bringing up this dated thing, is because just this week, I received my book from that particular event. And what is this book? This is a book written by a 7th grader, illustrated by a 7th grader. The 7th grader then had to write a professional letter to either a library, a nonprofit charity, to then ask for them to put their book on their shelf. What an awesome, awesome program. I was so impressed with that I really wanted to bring it to the public's attention, that just what great work the STEM school is doing here in our community in Kettering. Also, I want to bring up, last Friday we had some snow, as everybody knows. I want to uplift our street department. They did an excellent job of cleaning the streets. I can personally attest to that because I had to babysit at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I went right out of my driveway to my daughter's house, took care of the kids, got done early, then went to the rec center. Wow, on the number of senior citizens that were out at the rec center at 8 o'clock in the morning on a snow day when our schools were closed. We have a lot of folks that utilize our rec center. Everybody was from Parks and Rec working. It was awesome. And I uplift those seniors who did not take a moment off from their exercise, even despite the snow being on the ground. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, I have two kind of keep it on the school theme, Fairmont-related things. Oh, perfect. We have a slide here. On February 9th and February 10th, that weekend, is the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony. So I would invite all of you. It is a really fun weekend if you can be there for part of it or all of it. But Friday night, tip-off at 7:30 against Wayne. Fairmont is playing Wayne, and at halftime, our 6 well-deserving inductees that you can see there on the screen will be introduced. And then that night, you have to be 21 or older, but at BW3s, you can come out and celebrate with some of those Hall of Famers. That'll be a lot of fun. There'll be some light snacks there, and some of the athletes will be there as well. And then Saturday, from 1 to 3 will be the actual ceremony at Fairmont High School. So we have people ranging from, we have a 1959 grad, Denny Prizer, all the way up to a 2014 grad. So big range there. And I would encourage you guys to show up for that if you can. And then the other thing I wanted to quickly mention was on January 14th, I attended a viewing for Amy Dunaway Haney. I don't know if anyone in the room, if you went to Fairmont in the last 20 plus years, you probably know that name, whether you took Spanish or not. She was an incredible Spanish teacher. She passed away December 31st. And my wife and I went to her viewing, and it was freezing. So it was hard we were wrapping all around the place to try not to go out the door because it was so cold. But the amount of students, former, current, teachers, family, it was really incredible. So I just want to quickly say she had so many awards, but she got the Disney Teacher Award, which was a national award. She got a lot of local and state things, and she also got MDA Personal Achievement Award. She suffered from muscular dystrophy. So she was an incredible woman. And as somebody who, I'm a teacher myself, getting teenagers to do homework on a weeknight stuff, she would get them to Spanish dance in the hallway after school. I don't know how she did it, but she was a great teacher and a great motivator, so we all miss her a lot. That's it for me.
I also wanted to just say good job to the Kettering Public Works Department for preparing for the ice and the snow and the storm. Everything was covered with salt, and that was great. And also Kettering schools for keeping the kids safe and delaying schools while there was negative 10-degree temperatures the last week. And simultaneously, a new report came out about we have 400 families that we know of with children that are homeless in our region. That homelessness is greatly increasing, and I just can't imagine how people dealt with that in that cold. We also, in the same report, it was found that we need 8,000 new housing units in our region. And that's for mid-market housing, people who are nurses, teachers, firemen, and in the next 5 years. And without that, we're going to continue to have some serious housing shortages that are going to cause more families with children to struggle because of supply and demand. And so the Jackie Fisher handed out a housing needs assessment tonight at our workshop that is excellent, and I look forward to looking through this more. And it's an urgent situation for, you know, public officials all over our county to get together and figure out some creative ways to create more workforce housing. And I'm really excited that we've taken steps with the Kettering Research Park and was out there taking a look at it this week. And, you know, it's a great place for the new housing units that are going to go up there. Just want to end on a positive note. Shout out to Kettering boys basketball team who's playing tonight. They're 8-4, and I understand that they're third in the conference right now, so hope that they win.
Thank you.
I'm running along tonight, so I'll try to be brief. Along with Jackie Fisher, I was at the STEM event in December, and I was blown away by some of the engineering projects that the students did there. I realize that's a regional school for attendees, but it is in Kettering, and it's an amazing asset for the region and the city. Also a shout out, 2 weekends ago, once again, a uber successful Flying to the Hoop at our own Trent Arena, the high school basketball epicenter of the universe for that weekend. And lastly, I'll be real succinct, Shop Kettering.
I've talked enough tonight, so I'm just going to be super quick. I want to say thank you to Kettering Health, who hosted the Kettering Leadership Academy a couple weeks ago, or a week ago. It was a great day. Every time we go there, we learn something new. And we have a Kettering Leadership member in our audience. Thank you for being here. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have a lot. I traveled out of state this weekend down south where the roads were not well, and just reminded me how fortunate we are to have the public service department that we have, that everybody's already mentioned tonight. So I also just want to thank Jane Bidwell and the Johnsons. Thanks for being here and commenting tonight. We all look for more participation from our neighbors, and the more that we can bring people to these meetings and be a part of this process, the better our city will be. And so I thank you each for taking time on a cold Tuesday night to be with us this evening. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Brian, you stole my words right out of my mouth. But I really want to thank all of you for coming tonight. This is a community, and as a community, we need to work together to solve problems. Obviously, you're hearing one end of the problem here when Jill was talking about the number of homeless people. On the other hand, we see an unacceptable situation, apparently. Too many people in something are the actual services there. But together, we can find good, constructive answers to some of these questions. Maybe not all of them, but we can make a lot of progress. And so when you take the time to come up here and share with us and listen to us, it really warms my heart. I wish we had people in this audience every single week. Far too many weeks we have no one. And we all know we got plenty of things to work on. So thank you for caring. Thanks for doing it in a very civil, thoughtful way. And stay tuned and invite your neighbors to come to council. Say it's the best entertainment in town.
I found 175 flyers.
Well, great. Keep it up, Jane. We appreciate your work. All right. With that, that concludes our business for this evening. And our next council meeting is, I can never find the date, February 13th. Seems a long way away. Meeting is adjourned.